Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 5 of the Vuelta, España, 184 kilometers in length, about 115 miles. Now it's pancake flat, but there will be some wind out there to add a little bit of action into today's stage. Right away, a group of 3 slip off the front. Sanchez from Burgos BH, Lascano from Caja Rural, and Asbarin from Escatel Escady. Those guys will stay together and work well together until they start getting into the crosswind under 35 kilometers to go, when we start seeing them having some problems staying together, and you can tell the wind is starting to play effect with the front group of 3 as they're starting to fall apart and explode. The Caja Rural rider will slip up the road and he'll start trying to stay off solo and try to win today's stage, but that's not going to be possible. Once you start getting crosswind happening, the field is going to go fast. Now, anytime the wind gets there, it causes stress. When stress comes, it causes the speed to increase because all of the teams are fighting to be at the front. About 35 kilometers from the finish, there's 2 left turns there, and it's Dylan Van Baarle, the Ineos rider, that's at the front trying to split the group with his race leader, Egan Bernal, on the wheel. I've already talked about Dylan Van Baarle being a super domestique. It's another example of how classy that rider is. He's always looking after his teammates at the crucial and most important times throughout the stage. Now, with 11.9 kilometers to go, I want to show you this picture. The breakaway has already been absorbed, everything's together, but the wind has started blowing hard and the stress has really increased in the field. At 11.9, you're seeing a 4-lane road, let's call it, with riders all the way across it. Now at 11.7, all those riders are narrowing in from what was a 4-lane road into a 2-lane road. There's just not enough real estate for that many riders to be side by side. And we'll see Mads Schmidt, the Israel startup nation, that gets tangled up somehow and he goes down on the ground hard. It's going to plug up the whole road and nobody's getting by. Luckily, when you look at the picture right before the crash, let's back it up just a little bit. Jumbo-Visma is on the front, and we're talking Primož Roglič is safe and out of trouble. Egan Bernal, who was right next to Schmidt, just misses the crash. He was on his teammate's wheel, but just barely squeaks by without going down in the crash with Mads Schmidt. And Adam Yates, his teammate, avoids the crash because he's not at the back sleeping. He's near the front. He's out of trouble and makes it in the front group. So Ineos, Jumbo-Visma are solid and they're in the front group. But behind its race leader, Rein Taaramäe, who's down and out on today's stage. We'll see him in the picture. He gets up. He looks fine. We'll see him later trying to chase back to the front group. But guess what? Intermarché, everybody on that team needs to be fired or at least learn how to race their bike. I'd probably fire them, at least dock them some pay or something. You have a rider, Rein Taaramäe, that's race leader at a Grand Tour, could continue to keep the red jersey, and guess what? Not a single teammate waits for him. If you don't count the rider who broke his bike in the crash. We'll leave that guy out. The other 6, none waited. At least 2 that I could see in the pictures were caught up and held behind the crash. One's even holding his bike up as he's hurrying to get to the right side of the road so that he can get going and try to catch up with the front group, while race leader Rein Taaramäe is stuck under the pile of bikes and bodies before he gets up. Now you could say, Chris, maybe they didn't see him. Okay, here's the problem. At 12 kilometers to go, when it's been this nervous since 30K to go, and you're Intermarché, and you're with race leader Rein Taaramäe that's leading the Vuelta, you never take your eye off race leader. So you should know whether or not if he got caught up in that crash or not. Now, you could say you're too far back, you missed him. Certainly, it's always possible. But when 2/3 of the peloton is held up by the crash, you gotta believe there's good odds that your race leader at this year's Vuelta might be held up into that crash, and your importance of getting up and finishing in the front group is just not there. So you got to take the time to look around. Let me look around and see. Oh, there's a red jersey. I got a red jersey right here. That's why they put him in red, so he stands out more in the crowd. Intermarché, all you guys got to be fired. And there's even more information coming, so stay tuned, guys, because as the racing gets going, up front, there's 50, 60 guys that missed the crash and are continuing up the road. That group will get to be about 100 for the sprint finish at today's stage. But behind, Rein Tarame is solo on his own trying to chase back, and still no teammates are with him. It's not until 4 kilometers to go that Rein Tarame finally has 2 Intermarché teammates back there to help him try to get back up to the front group. Guess what, Director Sportif of Intermarché? That is way too late. How the director could not have set this scenario up in the meeting before the race even began. I'm talking about yesterday's meeting, and then again at today's meeting. When you're having a meeting and you have race leader in the red jersey on your team, you set the precedent in the morning. If something happens to Rein Tarame throughout the stage, especially near the finish, the whole team waits for him. If he has a bike problem and it's at a crucial moment at the finish of the race, whose bike fits Rein Tarame? What bike can Rein Tarame ride to the finish line for 12K? Just about any bike. I've ridden bikes that have been way too big, and I've ridden bikes that have been way too small anytime I've had a problem. But guess what? Not a single teammate waited. I mean, we're talking about Rein Tarame's chasing from 12K until 4K before finally 2 teammates wait for him. On top of that, to throw some salt in the wound, he's got 4 teammates up front trying to win the stage. Now, throughout all my time doing the butterfly effect this last year, I have never once seen Intermarché win a field sprint at this level, and I have never once seen a 4-man train from Intermarché leading their sprinter out to try to win a stage throughout this whole year at any World Tour event that I've covered and I've watched. So I can understand maybe your best sprinter made the split, keep him in the front, but everyone else comes back. Personally, if I was the director, I'd pull them all back, including my sprinter, because he's never won at this level. So, crazy knucklehead award for every one of the Intermarché riders who didn't wait for race leader in the red jersey caught up in the crash, who lost the red jersey on today's race. Now let's get back up front because the sprinting was absolutely spectacular. And guys, I'm wearing a suit, not a suit, but I'm wearing a tie today and my shirt's pressed. I left the jacket off. That's a little too much because I owe an apology out there for yesterday to Sasha Modolo, because Modolo, man, okay, you answered the question. I left the door open. I said maybe you were a knucklehead yesterday, and I let the fans out there and the viewers decide if you were, if you're not. I should have never brought it up. I should have had faith in you. If I ever see you and you're out riding, I will wash your bike for you and I will polish your shoes for you, because Modolo, you were beautiful on today's stage. Now with 2 kilometers to go, it's Alpecin Phoenix that has control of the race, but 1.5K to go. It's UAE Team Emirates that takes over control, and they'll keep control until you go into the last right turn, just under 1K to go. With about 900 meters to go, it's Alpecin Phoenix that has the front, and they're lined up with 4 guys on the front with 900 meters to go. This is looking fantastic, and I'm thinking Jasper Philipsen has every chance at winning today's stage. Then it gets crazy. With 700 meters to go, Jasper Philipsen, as his first rider on the front, swings off left. You'll see in the picture, Jasper Philipsen decides to leave his lead-out train and move left over to the FDJ train. Now, this is crazy because 200 kilometers later, at about 700 meters, there's 2 riders from Alpecin Phoenix, 2 riders on the left of them, UAE Team Emirates, 2 riders from Alpecin Phoenix again to the left, and then 2 riders from FDJ all the way against the left side barriers. It's bizarre to see Alpecin Phoenix, UAE Team Emirates, and then Alpecin Phoenix again. But Jasper Philipsen, he saw something that I didn't. When the front rider pulled off, it was Sasha Modolo, and it was time for him to go to work. Now this is crazy because I thought Sasha Modolo was 3rd wheel. Instead, he was 2nd wheel off the 4-rider train. When Jasper Philipsen left the last 3rd wheel, he went over to FDJ. As Sasha Madolo starts his sprint with about 600 meters to go. Jasper Philipsen comes all the way from the left, latches back on the Sasha Madolo's wheel. This was amazing. I don't know how Jasper Philipsen saw it coming, but his third rider in the leadout train got boxed in. There, Jasper Philipsen went left. He got boxed in the third rider, and Sasha Madolo, who was actually second on the train, started his sprint from about 600 meters. I already said at 300, Jasper Philipsen did an amazing job of coming from the left, leaving the FDJ train, slotting back on Sasha Madolo. Oh, my boy, man, are you fantastic. I got the tie on, and it's green, so you guys know what's going to happen. Jasper Philipsen takes off the wheel there of Sasha Madolo, 200 meters to go, and wins himself a second stage, along with taking the green sprint competition jersey by 1 point, because at 50 kilometers to go, he got fourth at the sprint point competition to gain a couple more points. Wraps him up the green jersey at the end of today's stage, a second stage victory at today's stage 5 Vuelta in fantastic style. And it's Kenny Elizon, the Trek Segafredo rider, because of the knucklehead move from the Intermarché guys, who now wears red. So guys, red, so you can see him. That's why they make the jersey red, so we can all see him on TV. But guess what? When you're wearing red in the race, all your teammates should be able to see you too. Intermarché do not see Rein Taaramäe at any point in time until, if you want to count it, at 4K to go. So congratulations, Kenny Elizon, for being in the right place at the right time, staying out of trouble. You deserve the red jersey today, because everybody on Intermarché is a complete knucklehead. Sasha Madolo, that was an amazing lead out. You certainly are no knucklehead, not yesterday and not today, because it was a beautiful racing and one fantastic sprint finish stage on today's stage 5. I put green and the tie on just for your forgiveness. Like I said, if I'm ever near you, I will wash your bike and polish your shoes, boy, because I owe you a little bit of forgiveness from yesterday's stage. Hope you guys like the butterfly effect today. I'll see you real soon for tomorrow's stage 6 uphill finish. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you real soon.